The Dodgers starting pitching was really good this weekend. Everything else was not really good. Is that a long-term concern? We'll get into it. Let's get locked on Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, Dodgers fans. Welcome to Locked On Dodgers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 local sports daily podcast network. Locked On, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. This is the daily podcast covering the World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers, bringing the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue. You can find us where we find podcasts and on YouTube. All you got to do is search for Locked On Dodgers. You can become an everydayer by listening and watching every day, which can be made easier by subscribing and get notified when our episodes are ready or when we're going live on YouTube, like we are here on Sunday night. If this is your first time listening, watching, welcome. I'm Vince Amperio. That's Jeff Snyder, and we are Locked On Dodgers. We have been Locked On Dodgers since 2019, and we've been covering the Dodgers a little longer than that in our own ways. And Jeff, sometimes when you are covering the Dodgers or watching the Dodgers or being a Dodger fan, it's not as fun as it could be. And this weekend was proof that that is very true.
Yeah, on the bright side, we got to watch baseball games, and I like baseball. I think that's the bright side, though. Like, you know, and like you said at the beginning, we did get to see some really good starting pitching for the Dodgers that we'll talk more about in the second segment. But yeah, watching your favorite team lose badly and then, you know, follow that up with a close loss it's definitely not. If I was drawing up my perfect scenario as a baseball fan, probably wouldn't involve the Dodgers losing 3 straight series.
Yeah, 3 straight series losses, 6 of their last 9 losses. That's not nice. And it was an issue of all facets other than starting pitching this past weekend against the Cubs. The Cubs came in hot. They are the league leader in runs scored by a lot, obviously aided by the 16 runs they put up on Saturday. Even if you took away those 16 runs, they'd still be the league leader in runs scored. So it's not a matter of, you know, one anomaly game that put them up there. They were already there before the fact. But like, the Dodgers held them in check, but it wasn't all there. And we'll start with the defense. We talked about the defense last week, and it was because of errors and bad play. This weekend, I don't know if the defense – there was one error the entire weekend by the Dodgers, and it wasn't necessarily an issue of bad play, but just we saw a little bit of what really good defensive play looks like on the other side, and it makes you think the Dodgers may be lacking a little bit.
Yeah, and that's been something that's been my main concern going into the season was the defense. How is that going to hold up? Because – and honestly, especially in the outfield, when you have Andy Pages in center field, I know he made a good play on Saturday, but you know, overall, he's a somewhere between below average and poor defensive center fielder. And then on both corners, you've got guys who are somewhere between below average and poor. You know, maybe ticking up to average at times, but you know, like you said, it didn't show up necessarily in the error column, but in this game on Sunday, for example, we saw the pop fly by Kyle Tucker down the left field line that Michael Conforto absolutely should have made that play. He had plenty of time to get there. He wasn't very close to the wall. He probably thought he was closer. I know he's still new to Dodger Stadium, but Dodger Stadium is like extremely symmetrical stadium. It's not a weird one out there. And he just whiffed on it. It turned into a double. Tucker ended up scoring an important run there. And all in all, like it's I think that was the go-ahead run, wasn't it? I think it was 2-2 when that happened.
Yeah.
So you know that's frustrating. And then later there was a little blooper to right field that, you know, Teoscar almost made the play on, that you wonder if a right fielder with a little more range would have made the play. You know, and then
that was the 4th run. Not that it mattered.
Okay. Oh, that's right. The 3rd run was the second home run by Pete Crow Armstrong, which, you know, that's a different issue with that guy. But yeah, I mean, and then on the flip side, you see the Cubs defense where they're making plays up the middle. They've got, you know, a ton of range in center field. You know, they're a very good defensive team, and the Dodgers aren't. And I I understand prioritizing offense over defense sometimes, because I do think as a hitter, you get more opportunities to affect a game than on defense. And so it's a trade-off that I think last year the Dodgers were perfectly happy, even with Teoscar being bad in left field, they were perfectly happy to have his bat, and it worked out for them. But I wonder, I do sometimes get nervous that maybe we have a few too many positions where we're prioritizing bat over defense.
The issue is, the defense could be an issue. And I think of all things with this team, that might be the most genuine concern area. Because, like you said, you have the corners that are a little bit iffy. You have center field, which is iffy if it's not Tommy Edman. But then if you take Tommy Edman out of the middle infield, then, you Rojas is solid, but, then you lose a little bit on offense. Mookie actually had a pretty good weekend.
It's funny to me that Mookie is the one that people keep harping on the defense, when I'd say he's at most the fifth biggest defensive concern for the Dodgers right now.
Yeah, so that's the big concern with the defense there, is that there's not really. But the flip side is, if the offense was performing, then maybe a lot of this defensive issues wouldn't even be an issue. Like if you put up 5 runs on Sunday, then you win that game. We're not maybe even talking about the Conforto and even Teo breaking a little late on that, it would have been a tough catch regardless. But yeah, so I guess we'll finish off with the defense real quick. Is it a weekend concern, a long-term concern, or like ASAP fix this right now concern?
I don't think there's any such thing as an ASAP concern in April, but yeah, I do think this is something that over time the Dodgers are going to have to identify. But like you said, maybe the answer is just hit better because it worked last year. It does work. People say pitching and defense wins championships, and it's never been true. I mean, it's been true in individual seasons, but scoring more runs than your opponents in October is what wins championships. And you can do that by outslugging, by preventing runs, by a combination of them. We've seen so many different kinds of teams win the World Series over the years. Sometimes they're good defensively, sometimes they're not. And people will point to the Yankees lost the World Series last year because of their defense. Well, I mean, it didn't help in Game 5 for sure, but they were already down 3-1, and it wasn't really the defense that the defense was bad for sure. But the Dodgers also got big hits when they needed to.
Yeah. So on the offensive side, we'd have to break down the numbers over this losing streak, and I'm sure if you did, it would be a lot worse than it was when they were winning all the games. But I think the biggest concern with this team right now is, well, one, Ohtani, Mookie have been okay. They were started off pretty solid. They've been just okay lately, and if they have gotten hits, it's been with either nobody on or non-home run. So really forcing other people to kind of help out. And the thing with the issue with offense is just that simple matter. The Dodgers have the tie for the 24th, so it's probably less than that. Tied for the 24th least at bats with runners in scoring position this year, and they've played maybe one more game than a lot of teams. That's not going to do it for you. You're not putting guys in scoring position, then you don't have a chance for some of those hits that you do get to score runs. And I think when you flip it to just runners on base, the Dodgers they're in the middle of the pack there in terms of at bats with runners on base. So that's the biggest issue, is not enough guys are getting on base. And they're not allowing, when Shohei does get a hit, it's when nobody on base. When Mookie does get a hit, it's when nobody on base because maybe Shohei didn't get on base. And that's where I don't think it's a long-term concern, but I think it's definitely annoying right now in the moment. And the bottom of the order, maybe some of these guys are a year older and not good.
Yeah, in some ways, even though it's annoying right now, it's the part I'm least concerned about, because I'm positive that Shohei Ohtani is going to pick things up. I'm positive Mookie's going to hit better. I'm positive Freddie's going to hit better. I'm relatively sure that Teoscar will continue to hit well. I'm relatively sure that Will Smith will be okay. The big question is the guys like Muncy and Kike, like we talked about last week, are they going to hit? Kike did finally get a single today to drive in a run, which was big, but then he also struck out trying to hit a 3-run homer with nobody on base in the 9th inning. It's frustrating, and to have the near nothings at the bottom of the lineup in Barnes and Taylor and Rojas when they're in the game, and Pages too a lot of the time, that is something that I'm not worried about the big guys. I do think the Dodgers are going to have to address several of these other guys.
Yeah, there's just, obviously it hasn't even been, it's been 18 games. Like, they're not going to do anything after 18 games. But if we're sitting here after 30, maybe 40 games, and some of these guys haven't gotten it going, I don't know if the Dodgers will do something, but it'll definitely have me thinking a little bit more just because, age does play a factor. I saw someone say Mookie Betts' bat speed is down a little bit, but it was also down last year from the year before, and he was pretty good last year. So I'm not worried about the big guys, but yeah, if the bottom half of the order doesn't figure it out, then there's definitely some genuine concern, and the Dodgers will have to do what they didn't really want to do, either make some moves or call some guys up. So yeah, but the bullpen didn't fare as well either. We're going to get into that and talk about the starting pitching, which did fare very well and was the main reason the Dodgers had a chance to win on Sunday and won on Friday. So we'll get into that. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by Wonderful Pistachios. If you're looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious, crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. And they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help you feel fuller longer. I normally have a bag of Wonderful Pistachios here, but I finished them over the weekend, so I will put my hand up and pretend there is a bag there. And by next episode, I probably will have a bag because Wonderful Pistachios are the true snack that gets it going and, can be used on the go, at home, at a Dodger game, wherever it is. They got the shelled version, the non-shelled version. They got different flavors. There's a lot of different things for you to check out with Wonderful Pistachios. So make sure to go check it all out. And get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. I want to thank you for being an everydayer. If you are one, and everydayer is just someone that listens or watches every day. And we appreciate those of you that make us your first or last listen of the day. Probably last listen here as it is Sunday at 9 p.m. First listen if you're listening the next morning on Monday when you're on the way to work or wherever it is. So we appreciate you. And find us where we have podcasts and on YouTube. Subscribe both areas. We are getting a little bit more into the YouTube world. So make sure to subscribe there and stay up to date with all our post-game commentary and other commentary that goes on beyond just the live shows. So, Jeff, let's talk about the bullpen real quick before we get into the positive thing from the weekend, which was the starting pitching. The bullpen was fine on Friday because the Dodgers didn't allow any runs. Yoshinobu Yamamoto went 6. Kirby Yates, Blake Trinan, and Tanner Scott all did their jobs. And then Saturday, the 16-0 score is jarring, but what people may not know if they didn't watch the game is that the score was 1-0 heading into the top of the 6th inning, and the score was just 2-0 heading into the top of the 7th inning. So it was a breakdown of the bullpen, and Ben Kasperius was the one that had the bulk of it. He ended up giving up 7 hits and 6 runs, just the 1 strikeout. A bad day for him. I guess before we get into just bullpen specifically, a lot of people were mad that Dave Roberts kind of like Ben Kasperius didn't go for the win or didn't go for the at least attempt to slow down the scoring on the Cubs side.
Yeah, and I understand why people are upset. I disagree with them a lot because the fact is, they were already down 1-0. Kasperius, he gave up the run in the 6th, so it's 2-0. But they're kind of counting on him in that situation to go multiple innings. As we've talked about, he is a 2-inning guy these days, and having just used their top 3 relievers the night before, they needed to get 2 innings from Kasperius, or that was their hope. And so they sent him back out for the 7th. He gives up a run, maybe then you could start thinking, oh, maybe he just doesn't have it tonight. Well, at that point, you're down 3-0. Your offense hasn't done anything that night. You can't really play for the win when you're down 3-0. You kind of have to. And so really the options were leave Kasperius in or bring in Luis Garcia. And eventually they did bring in Luis Garcia, and he was terrible too, And so it's not like, if they had gone to Tanner Scott or Kirby Yates, then they still would have lost 3-0 and they would have burned those guys. Now, Sunday's game ended up, you didn't need those guys, but there was a very real chance that the Dodgers could have needed those high leverage guys on Sunday. That's just, it's the nature of the long season something that Dave Roberts has always been pretty good at in the regular season, at playing like it's a long season. And some people call it punting a game. And, it's not quite punting the game. Obviously, once Rojas came in, they had punted. Realistically, once Luis Garcia came in, they had punted, because at that point he was 7-0. But overall, having Kasperius in there, who's been excellent this season, that's the first time he's allowed any runs this year, has very good stuff, has pitched really well. It was just a really bad night for Kasperius, combined with a bad night for the offense, and then that just snowballed into, well, let's let Luis Garcia do his thing, and then let Miguel Rojas play games on the mound for a couple innings. And ultimately, my main thought in that game was, well, I don't care if we lose 16-0 or 1-0. It's one loss in the standings.
Yeah. Once it got to 3-4, 5-0 and Kasperius, like at that point, it wasn't like he was pitching terribly. He did get through that, he gave up one run in that first inning. And then you're kind of in a weird spot right there. And you know what? It didn't go your way. And you had all your arms for the next day. Unfortunately, on Sunday, even with all those arms, the bullpen was the one that gave it away. Blake Trinan came in and gave up a run to get the loss. Alex Vesia came in and he ended up giving up a run. So, Jeff, with the bullpen, I don't know. I feel like we've talked about the bullpen a lot. I don't think there's a genuine concern. If you guys watch us and follow us, you'll understand that there's not a lot of genuine concern. But with that said, yeah, what are your thoughts on the bullpen?
I'm excited that eventually Evan Phillips and Michael Kopech will be back. I am looking forward to Luis Garcia not being on the roster. I think with Kasperius, it was just a bad night. And other than that, Luis Garcia, we saw Jack Dreyer pitch. He pitched pretty well tonight. It gave up a leadoff triple and then got out of it with a couple strikeouts. Like that was a big inning for Dreyer. All in all, yeah. Relievers, there's a reason that it's really notable when a reliever has an ERA in the low ones, because even relievers give up runs, and it just so happens that sometimes when one of your best relievers gives up runs on a night that your offense isn't scoring, it feels like the bullpen is a big issue. But overall, especially with the guys who are coming back, I feel fine long-term about the bullpen as long as they can stay healthy.
Yeah, update on that bullpen real quick. Evan Phillips pitched on Friday. He's still progressing. They want to get him on a back-to-back before he gets back up here, but probably a couple weeks away. With Michael Kopech, Dave Roberts did say he's a ways away, so that's not ideal. He did get asked about Edgardo Henriquez on Friday as well, and he said he didn't really have an update, so I don't think Edgardo Henriquez is coming back anytime soon either. That's the update on that. Clayton Kershaw is expected to make a rehab start on Wednesday. Dave Roberts said OKC, but then he also said, actually, I'm not sure. So it could be Rancho. They're both at home on Wednesday, so it's going to be one of those two. Gonsolin pitches again on Tuesday, and they want to build them up to like 5 innings before they bring them back. So at least probably 2 more starts there. But there are reinforcements slowly but surely coming back. Well, I'm sure we'll get a Blake Snell update. He's supposed to throw on Monday, I believe, for the first time. So maybe we'll have a little bit of an update on tomorrow's episode. But yeah, it was a bad inning by Kasperius. That really overshadowed it because China gave up 1 run, Vesia gave up 1 run. That's not ideal, but the Dodgers also didn't score against the Cubs bullpen, and the offense can help out the relievers sometimes as well. So.
Yeah, that's the best way to help your relievers is give them 6-run leads to protect for a while, give them some low stress innings.
Yeah, so we were going to talk about starting pitching. We didn't get into it, but let's finish off the episode with some positivity. Starting pitching's been good. The upcoming 3 days are going to be good, and maybe the rest of the schedule in April, so we're going to get into that. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Yeah, that happens sometimes. Between dining out, online shopping, Dodger tickets, it's easy to lose track, and that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. where you can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. If you start using Monarch Money, you might find out how much you're spending on food delivery or on something else like, I don't know, Dodger tickets or hats or whatever it is. And now you can budget smarter and save more. And if you have someone that you share finances with, that makes it easy for them too, because you can track all shared and personal accounts, set your goals, and stay on the same page without the stress, all in one app. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. I want to thank you for being an everydayer, for listening right now. If you're listening, for listening in the Monday morning, if that's when you're listening, whenever you listen, we appreciate you. And remember, you can go beyond the podcast, become Locked On Dodgers Insider by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. Get text directly from us, keeping you up to date. Maybe get some videos from Dodger Stadium when I'm there for work, and be part of our Discord server where you can talk Dodgers with other Locked On Dodgers Insiders. Jeff, the starting pitching, when you build out what you want in a weekend from your starting pitching, you would build out at least 5 innings from every guy, less than 2 runs allowed from every guy, and a lot of strikeouts. Or maybe that you don't need the strikeouts, but those are fun. And that's exactly what the Dodgers got. They got Yoshinobu Yamamoto going 6 scoreless with 9 strikeouts on Friday. They got Roki going 5 innings with, what do you end up with? Just 3 strikeouts. But he got through 5 innings for the first time in his career. Then you have Glasnow going 6 innings, striking out 7 with 2 runs allowed on Sunday. If you were building out the weekend, you would have been happy with that. Obviously, the results of the weekend we're not happy with. But this is what we expect from this rotation, and we'll start with Yoshinobu Yamamoto because he now has a 1.23 ERA in his 4 starts. He's looking like one of the best pitchers in baseball, and it wasn't hard to say Yamamoto is going to be good this year, take that step up, become an ace. But we were on the right side on that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And his command was so good on Friday, having the splitter working and then also just dotting the fastball at the bottom of the zone. So when you catch a guy guessing splitter, and so he lays off it because it's down at the bottom of the zone, he thinks it's going to drop below. And no, there's just a perfectly placed 4-seam fastball. Even busts out the 2-seamer, had some crazy movement on it. Obviously, the splitter was great. Yeah, Yamamoto, what we saw on Friday is the guy that we envisioned when the Dodgers signed him. It's the guy we saw against the Padres in Game 5 of the NLDS last year, against the Yankees a couple times last year. Like, Yoshinobu Yamamoto is an excellent pitcher and would be the clear-cut ace on a lot of teams.
Yeah, and he could be the clear-cut ace here. We know Blake Snell's would be that guy just based on the track record of the 2 Cy Youngs, but he hasn't pitched that way yet. He was injured. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, I mean he's stepping up. I said on Friday short after, looking to be a Cy Young contender, looking to be a all-star starter. Hunter Green from the Reds is having a really good start to the season. There's a couple other guys, but Yamamoto's right there, and I don't expect that to slow down. But yeah, Roki Sasaki, he got through 5 innings for the first time. It wasn't the prettiest of outings. It was, he still gave up a couple walks. He gave up, a few hits, one of those being a home run. But ultimately, it was good to see him be efficient and hard to not get excited. Like, the Cubs scored 15 runs after he left the game, and he only allowed 1. So.
Yeah, and he did get helped. Andy Pages robbed Michael Busch of something, maybe a grand slam, probably probably saved at least 2 runs, probably 3 runs, and maybe 4 runs. Funny thing is, maybe Michael Busch hits for the cycle, if not for that, because if Pages doesn't make that play, it might be a triple, depending on how hard a Pages hits the wall and where the ball bounces from there. All in all, like, Roki got some help, but like you said, he also made pitches when he needed to. It probably should have been a little worse on his line than it was, but overall, definitely good to see him get through 5 innings. And I actually saw some people saying they should have sent Roki back out for the 6th. That's definitely hindsight. He's already at his max or the most he's done in the big leagues. Ben Casparis has been good this year. That's
get him out at a good spot.
Yeah, for sure. 5 innings, 1 run allowed is definitely where you want him. And hopefully it's a stepping stone, because like you said, still not perfect, but if he keeps taking steps, then by June, July, maybe he's a guy who we really count on to give us a good start every time out.
Yeah, for him, it's just about, well, obviously confidence seems to play a role in it. I don't know how significant that role is, but it definitely plays a role in it. And he got that. Like he shut down the best offense in baseball by runs scored for 5 innings, like with a little bit of help. But he also, the thing is, he was throwing enough strikes to give himself that help. Guys put the ball in play. The defense did help him out, and that was good to see. And like I said, hopefully something that he keeps on moving forward with, and we're excited to see that. And then we'll finish with Tyler Glasnow, who looked like Tyler Glasnow that we expect. Every inning or every outing so far, an inning where there hasn't been rain, Tyler Glasnow has been pretty good.
Yeah, it's we got yelled at for blaming the rain for Glasnow's start. There are very few things in life I'm more sure of than the fact that Tyler Glasnow's bad start in Philadelphia was because of the rain. Doesn't mean it's not a concern, because as we talked about, sometimes it rains in October, but I'll take good starts in good weather and let him figure out the bad weather if and when it comes. But this is Tyler Glasnow. He made 2 bad pitches tonight, and gave up home runs on both of them, unfortunately. And but still, he pitched plenty well enough to win this game. The offense just didn't win it for him, just like Roki the day before. Luckily, the offense did win for Yamamoto. But even that was a pretty poor offensive game, just one big swing from Tommy Edman. And, again, that was against a very, very good pitcher. So sometimes the pitchers win. But in the case of the Dodgers starting pitchers this weekend, they won a whole lot.
Yeah, it was great to see on that end. If they can shore up the other parts of the game, that might be the way to get some wins. And that might be helped by the fact that the Rockies are coming to town, coming off a weekend in which they scored 0 runs against the Padres, 3 straight shutouts. If you are a Dodger fan that likes to be sarcastic, you might say, well, I expect them to score in the first inning on Monday. And that might happen. But either way, the Dodgers should still expect to win these next 3 games. And you kind of look ahead at the rest of the schedule this month, and you feel like, okay, maybe they've had a rough, tough schedule. They won, they beat the Braves, who probably – that would have been the game, the series 8 that would have been giving them some issues, but they ended up sweeping that series. Lost against Phillies, lost against the Nats, lost against Cubs, who were playing very well. But now they got the Rockies, Rangers, Cubs for 2, Pirates, Marlins to finish out the month. The Rangers are above 500, but their run differential is below that. So they're, had some games where they've probably won some close ones and lost a few games that haven't been that close. The Cubs, we know what they are. And then the Pirates and Marlins, who are both teams that can't really hit. Marlins can pitch a little. They may get schemes against the Pirates, but it's looking like a month where the Dodgers can shape up a little bit better.
Yeah, I hope so anyway. They definitely – this is a get-right series against the Rockies, slump buster, whatever you want to call it. If the Dodgers offense can't break out against the Rockies pitching –
they're not facing Kyle Freeland, I don't think. So.
Yeah, and they've got, I don't even know who's pitching. They got Marquez, and apparently Antonio Senzatella still exists. And I know Paul from Locked On Rockies was excited about him. I thought we had gone back in time to 2018 or something, but I don't know.
He's 0-2 at a 5.14 ERA, but he's pitching on Monday.
All right. So, but also we know that Landon Knack and a spot starter or bullpen game are both going in this series too. And so again, hopefully we saw that Tyler Glasnow pitched better in good weather. Hopefully Landon Knack will too. Some combination of better weather and pitching against the Rockies. And then whoever gets to start, whether it's a bullpen game or a spot starter on Wednesday, hopefully the Dodgers, the bats can carry the team to a series win there and kind of use this as an opportunity to wake up. And sometimes that's all you need. You even if the Rockies are bad pitchers, getting hits against major league pitchers sometimes remind you, hey, I know how to hit. So maybe this is how Max Muncy breaks out, how Shohei Ohtani gets back on track. Whoever you want to name, Freddie Freeman, obviously getting his feet back under him. It should be a good series for the Dodgers. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, these are the ebbs and flows of the season. And, I think Glasnow and Mookie kind of talked about it after Sunday's game. They're, not concerned about the slump. That slumps happen sometimes, and you look at a team like the Tigers, who the Dodgers swept, and then they've gone 9-3 since then, or something like that. So maybe the Braves are probably going to be a team that improves, and the Dodgers handled them. The Dodgers beat the Cubs. They've beat them 3 out of 5 so far. If they win one in Chicago, then they win that season series, and it's not looking as bad. It's just a kind of a weird thing. If the Dodgers were the record they are now, but they had won, every other game or 2 out of every 3 or whatever the case, however you get to that point, we'd be fine with the fact that they started so good and then they've been just bad, or I guess 6-9 is bad over the next 9, then it kind of skews it a little bit.
Yeah. And that's why it's nice that the overall record is what counts. Right now, the Dodgers still have the 4th best record in Major League Baseball. Just so happens that 2 of the 3 teams ahead of them are also in their division. So that's frustrating for fans. I get that. They're still on pace for 105 wins this year, which would be solid. I was just looking the other day at early in the 2021 season when the Dodgers, they lost the first game to the Rockies, and then they won like 7 or 8 in a row. And then they had a really terrible streak, and they were around 500 late in April, just, with a lot of similarities. And that team ended up, I guess some people would say that's a bad example because the Dodgers finished in second place that year. If the Dodgers win 106 games this year, they won't end up in second place. That's one thing I'm sure of. And so I do think the Giants and Padres will both come back to earth a little bit. I don't stress about standings. And I think the Dodgers are legitimately a 100-plus win team as they start getting things together, making improvements, individual players getting better, individual players getting replaced, whatever it is. Dodgers are going to be a good team.
Dodgers were 11-6 through the first 17 games last year, and they won the World Series last year. So,
yep. And like we said all offseason, when people were crying that the Dodgers were breaking baseball and stuff, we said none of this guarantees anything. You still have to go out there and play. And you and I have known the Dodgers would have slumps this year, and maybe we didn't predict losing 3 straight series, including, one to the Nationals, who they definitely should have beat. But all in all, yeah, this is the ebbs and flows of a long season, and it's frustrating sometimes. But overall, hopefully, we can focus on the fact that we get to watch our favorite team play baseball, and hopefully, the Dodgers can make that easier by winning a bunch of games over the next little while.
Yeah. The one positive thing, the Dodgers have not lost at home when I've been at a game, and I'll be there on Monday. So I'll bring the dub, and hopefully we can move on from there. So that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen or last listen of the day, whatever lesson. You can check us out wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. You can subscribe to make it easier to get notified when episodes are ready or when we're going live. You can check out Locked On MLB Game Night after you listen to us. Every game, every night, all season long, get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can check out the Locked On Dodgers postcast after most Dodger games on our channel already. So if it says postcast, it's Pete Fox. If it doesn't say postcast, it's one of us or both of us. You can go beyond the podcast with Locked On Dodgers Insider by going to joinsubtext.com/Locked On Dodgers. You can get text directly from us and keep up to date with the Dodgers in an easier way. You can find us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Locked On Dodgers. Jeff's on Twitter at Snydog. I'm at Vincent91. And DM us any questions or comments. You can also send those via email, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or via voicemail text at 323-863-5625. We're here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. When you get in your car, if you're at home, tell your smart device, play a podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.
We'll talk to you tomorrow.